Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Forward Movement Podcast, Season 4, where it's all for the poets. Today, I am tickled with excitement and a heart truly overflowing with love as I welcome Nina Lior to the space, the sweet soul. Nina, how has the act of forward movement transformed your life?
How long do we have? It's hard to really summarize in one single phrase, but I will try. Um, Looking to the future instead of the past and looking forward has been such a productive, up-leveling practice for me. As a writer, especially as a poet, a lot of what I write comes from the past, right? Like I'm working through emotional triggers or past traumas or whatever the case may be. I work it out through my writing. But what I've found to be most helpful to me as a writer who's moving through the world, trying to build my profile as a poet, is to communicate and write with my forward version, my future self, and kind of looking past the past, taking stock. And really, it's kind of what my book is about. I just wrote a book called The 40 Poems, 40 poems about 40 women who impacted me, shaped me into the now 41-year-old that I am today. And so much of that was a culling of the past. But what I found through the process of writing about the past was a deeper understanding of me today and who I also want to be in the future. And that was sort of an unexpected, almost therapeutic outcome of my process. And now I find that communicating with my future self has been just a regular practice I really like to turn to.
This is very relatable in the way, at least for myself, of dipping into the past to receive the inspiration of what one is moving through for the artistic expression and not getting lost in it, and also not identifying with who I once was
Right.
in the past. And how, as you continue looking to the future, Nina, and who you are in this moment, how do you not get lost in the memories and the sensations and the feelings that arise of the past?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think that's where a lot of us get stuck, right? Like we dwell in these identities that are based on past experiences, or even I just actually came from therapy. And today with my therapist was talking about this repetitive family dynamic where I kind of always feel like an outsider in my family. And even despite wrongs that my family have done to me, I still feel this need to people please, to make sure that they're happy and that what I've done doesn't upset them. And that's not a productive space for me to be in because who I am today is not defined by the structures and feedback loops that were created by my family in the past. I don't want to say it's easy to get out of that because it takes work. I just mentioned I'm working with a therapist. That's been incredibly productive for me, as has been my writing process. If I get to a place where I'm writing about it, that means I'm alchemizing it. That means I'm moving forward. I'm moving past this, synthesizing it, reflecting, learning what I can. And there's also like a sort of compartmentalization that has to happen at some point. Like you can't change the past. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control yourself and you can change the course of your future and what you move towards. And so, yeah, the writing has been really helpful for me because, like I said, once I get to that point where I'm like actually writing a poem about it, it means like the lessons have been absorbed.
Is
I don't know
this
if that fully answers your question, but hope.
Oh yeah, beautiful. And when it comes to you writing the poems and moving through this, you've identified this as a pattern in your life.
Yeah.
And now every time that you're writing, is there a texture of assuming that is going to always happen and or also just having deep faith in knowing that that is part of the process and that's
Yeah.
what it's always going to look like.
Right. Like half the battle for me is just even naming what you're going through, right? Like talking about why is this making me feel this way or what emotions are coming up when I get to the page, that's where those things start to make sense. When I get to the point where I can actually articulate the feelings or what it brings out of me, that's when the catharsis takes place. That doesn't always mean I've resolved that issue or have fully moved on from it, but it's a starting point where now I'm talking about it. Now I'm like acknowledging these influences on me. I think a lot of people move through the world very unaware of themselves, unaware of their actions, the impact of what they do, or why they're even doing something that they're doing. So to be able to just name those things is a really good first starting point to being able to then move past them and not let them define you anymore.
Absolutely. And like the journey of that too, to be a human and have
Yeah,
compassion for the self in that process. And you
totally.
mentioned the compartmentalizing, and I laugh because I'm house and cat sitting. This backdrop is not mine.
I
And
know.
then your backdrop, and then you're mentioning like the compartmentalizing. Love
Here's
that
my
thread.
childhood trauma. Here's my future trauma.
Here's my poet. Do you find that like what's your journey like of being wholeheartedly poet, wholeheartedly woman, and then entering worlds of different backdrops, such as the family, the friends, the professional, the mothering, the artist landscape? How is the compartmentalizing of your own inner self taking place when you're moving through different aspects of your life? Or are you finding your who you are in every moment is the same?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I think it kind of like, I'm a white person, so I don't want to like co-opt this conversation because it's really largely about how Black people move in white spaces. But there's something called code switching, where, when you're in different environments, you sort of have to speak differently so people respect you differently or talk to you in a different way. As, a woman in America, sometimes you have to learn how to go into spaces so as not to ruffle feathers. So I think part of it for me, there's been this conditioning that I'm trying to move away from. So I can't say that I'm like fully walking into my every single space as my most authentic self because I'm still breaking away some of that conditioning that prevents me from doing that. But also, in knowing myself, I know when to compartmentalize and when I can be freely myself. When I'm with my Poems and Power crew, I know I won't be judged. I know that I will be accepted exactly as I am. So there's this freedom to coming into that space being seen as such. A couple weeks ago, I went to this collaboration event for women entrepreneurs in my community. And it's interesting being an author in that space because books as business, you don't necessarily think they go hand in hand, but in my experience, they can. And, it was at a nice home, very, very, very nice home, attended by very, very nicely dressed women and really just remarkable entrepreneurship under their belt. And, I felt the need to show up more buttoned up and more like, I'm a professional poet and I'm here because I'm supposed to be. So for me, as a poet, I found the one unifying thing in all these spaces is observation, detail, knowing who your audience is, knowing what parts of myself can come out, what need to hide, etc. It's just, yeah, that's kind of just been something I've been working on my whole life, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, and as a woman who is so focused on the contribution of the self in different aspects in different ways, such as the poetry, such as speaking, such as the way that we adorn the body. I feel that we're all moving towards a space where we can be who we are in every moment. And even when the room doesn't receive us, cool.
Yeah, right.
I'm so
Like
happy for you.
IDGAF, like, 20-year-old me probably would have cared a whole lot more about what people thought and the impression I left on a room and stuff. And well, of course, I care about the impression I leave. I also know who I am so well to the point now where if I ruffle some feathers or if some people don't like what I have to say, that's just showing me they're not my people. And that's okay to
Yeah,
know. Like, that's good to know.
it's beautiful to know. And yesterday I was talking to another poet, Nina, and the question arose of who you envision yourself to be at 83 years old. And right now, what's coming forward, I love the string. I love the string because what you just said, I see now you as 83 years old or me as 83 years old, and nothing has changed in the external world potentially, but it's the internal of now we are the same in every room because we just honestly don't care what the feedback is.
Right, right,
And
right. And
maybe that's what it is.
theoretically, you're also putting yourself in more rooms that you're meant to be in, right?
Ah,
Like part of it is over the years, you're trying all these things out. Where's my community? What feels right for me? What are my values and priorities? Sometimes you have to learn that the hard way, you know?
yeah, yeah. I love that. It didn't even cross my mind, but yeah, you just pick and choose where you're gonna be, and obviously they're gonna accept you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so simple. It's
Duh.
like we try to overcomplicate, or maybe I try to overcomplicate of how to be most authentic in every space, but it's really my responsibility to choose the spaces I'm going into.
Yeah. Like if you don't want to sit in the back of a car with someone eating a crab omelet, don't get in the back of a car with someone eating a crab omelet. You're gonna
And
be all
then
right.
you have the feedback of it and how potent this is. Nina, okay, I love you. And also, we have this feedback of we make a choice and we're like, this is the best choice ever. And
Yeah,
then the feedback is like, uh-oh, that wasn't good. We
right.
didn't like that was not desirable. And now that's a compass of like maybe we're going to be more mindful in the
Right.
future of who we're traveling around or
Yeah.
and not to say the love isn't there, it's more of the sensory experience. How
Yeah.
does the body feel?
Right, right, exactly. Like your nervous system has to feel safe and all those things come into play.
Totally. So what did your body feel like through the process of weaving together the 40 poems and birthing?
Yeah, I mean, birthing, I like literally just published a poem about this called The Fourth Trimester. It's been such a like I feel like I got into a plane and I'm a skydiver and I took a freaking leap and I know the ground's gonna come and I'm gonna land there safely, but like how long it takes me to get there and what path I fall, we'll see, you know. So it's, you know, there's been such a profound change in my inner being from who I was even back in March till now. I think it was around April that Chelsea, with Poems in Power, announced that she was going to open up her publishing house. And I jumped as soon as that announcement came out. Wait for my application. I'm coming in. And from the moment that I made that choice and like really pressed go, it's been just an exponential. It's not all been easy. Don't let me make that impression because it's a roller coaster. Sometimes you fall down, and sometimes you have periods where you're just stuck on the track. It's not always a linear process. But actually, as I'm talking through this, I'm thinking back to a moment in August of 2025 I went by myself to a college friend's wedding. I'm married, so it's unusual that I attend a wedding by myself. And this was this beautiful reunion with all these college friends I hadn't seen in years. And that was the first time that I introduced myself as a poet to people I hadn't seen in a while or never had met before. And that moment of speaking out into the world, oh, I'm a poet, was so profoundly impactful for me in a way I didn't anticipate. Like, I don't know, I guess I had some assumptions that people would undervalue me, like, oh, you're just a poet, like poets don't make money. What do they do? Like, ugh. But when I introduced myself as such, people were like, oh, wow, that's so cool. I love poetry. And I was just like, oh, well, this feels right. This feels cool. And so it's just, since that moment, there's been continuous repetition from the universe and validation coming to me that this is the right path I should be on. And it's been a lot of walking in faith with the universe since then. Like I think I've said to you, my like mantra throughout that whole process was like, I'm trusting in the divine timing and floating in the holy waters of the universe. Like whatever's gonna come, comes. Wherever things flow, I flow. I think if I tried to put too much control or too much hustle or effort, my nervous system would have really felt that. And I didn't want to feel burned out by my artistry because I wanted it to be a passion project. I wanted it to be something that sustained me in a way that I have been missing in my life for a really long time. So, long answer, but that's, staying committed to that vision of I am a poet even despite the roller coasters and the free falls, and now the birthing and taking care of this little newborn baby who needs to be fed and taken care of.
Oh, with all the little different outfits on their
Yeah.
textures on their outfit. It's
She's
Nina.
versatile.
It's like you adorned your baby. You know those little blankets for little sweet angels in form of like the different textures,
Hmm.
like the bumpies and then the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
silkies.
Yeah.
That's the cover of your book, baby.
Oh,
It's like all the different textures.
yes, the textures of me.
And textures of you and like the human. And thank you for the weaving, the swimming within what you just said, and how how powerful it is to identify as someone such as a poet, and also know, is the poet the umbrella, or is the poet one aspect of the self or the whole, or maybe it's
Mhm.
ever evolving. And as you're sharing, something that came forward too is how often are the humans and the souls placing them in rooms that is a bit of a stretch zone. Like
Mm.
even not even going to the wedding back in 2025 without your husband there, like that may have been a stretch zone in some way or another from what it sounds like, and even introducing yourself as something that you've never introduced yourself before. And the stretch zone areas allow the soul to like spread. We feel
Mhm.
safer being seen by people who don't really actually know us that well.
Right, right, right. There was definitely like a safety and like, okay, well, some of these people I won't ever see again. So like whatever happens, happens. But yeah, I think that's like that future self aspect too. It's like meets like a fake it till you make it mentality of like, I'm gonna keep calling myself a poet until the rest of the world agrees. You're projecting yourself towards the future that you want. And, the path to get to that capital P poet might not be linear, but I'm gonna get there.
Oh yeah, constantly time traveling. You
Yes.
like future self is like, yo, you gotta do that. Because if you don't, like it's gonna take a long time to
Yeah.
get where we're at
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm really resonating too with the faith experience, because even as you said that the human body, the sensations that arise can really do a spiral if you're not rooted in the faith. That's not to say that when you're moving forward with faith, the sensations aren't arising. Like
Right.
in the past 24 hours, I'm over here like, oh my gosh, how is my body holding what
right?
we're holding?
The
But it's because
capacity.
the
Yeah.
faith of I know myself so well in the choices I'm making.
Yeah. Yeah.
How have you found that the readers of the book baby have connected with you in a way that you weren't anticipating?
Um, this one has been fun. So, you know, poets by nature are observers, right? And literally my book is me observing women and through that process myself, right? So I would say I'm a pretty good like judge of character, if you will. And it's been really fascinating and so fun for me to see which specific poems are resonating with each woman or person that is choosing to share their feedback with me. It's almost like through my book, I'm getting to know them better as well. You know, like, oh, you picked number 8. Oh, okay, so I see you. Okay. And of course, my like lesbian friends love number th 35 because it's such a beautiful poem based on a lesbian, a sapphic story from the movie Portrait de la jeune fille en feu, Portrait of a Young Lady on Fire. And so it's just really fun to see. And like just the stories about the way that she's existing without me. Another poet told me she was reading her on the subway at 1 a.m., which is just
Oh.
amazing that like my book is on the New York subway at 1 a.m. being read by someone. And she's surrounded by like all these drunk males, 20-year-olds out, returning home from their fun night out. And some guy like came up to her and was like, "What are you reading?" And I'm just like, "Oh, my baby was on the subway and she met someone." Like it's just really cool to see this continuation of me having its own experiences and teaching me things in return.
Whoa. Okay. So never thought of this before, but in a way, when you are a published author or published anything, a songwriter, a theater production, film, whatever it may be, the moment that you create that which moves through you and it comes out in some way outside of you in form, that's ultimately like a soulmate experience.
Totally.
Or I'm very, very, very mindful here of the term twin flame
I
because
knew you were going to say
I
that.
can oh, and I don't make promises, but I can almost promise every single soul tuning into this conversation, my definition of twin flame is not even close to what they have.
Love.
So I just want to preface that. But that's really the terminology that's going to be used here because it is a twin. We have multiple twin flames. That's my belief in this moment in time. And when you birth, the 40 poems is you. So 40 poems is out there be like, I'm not drinking tonight, but I'm on the subway. Oh, I got a hot date tonight. And you're over here sleeping in bed with your eye mask.
Earplugs. Totally.
This is so fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, it's truly, words are so powerful. Like, we know so much about the power of words in manifestation and really writing down and getting specific on what you want and to create an entire book of words and then have that book walk outside of my body and exist without me. It's such a remarkable experience. It is like having a child in so many ways. And like I created this thing with my words. Like, what? If there's like this podcast, telepathy tapes, I feel like it's in your radar in some capacity. But just like talking about this idea of like the power of our words is such a big component towards getting into these other realms and spaces. And it's just really exciting to see.
What's your experience been like with audibly expressing the poems in this book baby of yours to others versus the ones that you have yet to read in a group setting?
What do you mean? Like,
Have you read every poem out loud to a group of people?
not to a group of people. Through my editing process, just in case anyone listening is curious how that works. I worked with my editor when I would submit a poem. She would provide her initial edits, and then she and I would get on a FaceTime. We would discuss her edits. And then she would have me actually read the poem to her, which I never thought about in the writing and editing process. Because I'm like, I'm not a spoken word poet. Like I'm not a poet who's crafting my poems to be read out loud. So it didn't even cross my mind. But that practice in and of itself was so powerful from an editing perspective. But then like forming my voice and like what I wanted these poems to say, like I would speak them and I would be reading, right? And different words would come out of my mouth because it was like the poem then became its own thing. So I've had the pleasure of reading a few of these in public settings. I've read some of them for Instagram. It's always a different type of vulnerability for me because I don't have a problem with public speaking. That's not a fear of mine. But like your art is something so much more personal. And so it's hard not to like worry, like while I'm reading my poem, like, are they catching it? What I thought that line was really good, but nobody reacted, like, or then, I read one and there was a lot of alliteration in the opening stanza and someone like caught it and was like, ooh, and I was like, yeah, she gets
Ooh.
it. So it's definitely a more emotional vulnerability. Once I put those words on the page, like they can go off and have their own life without me, but me reading it to you is a whole different portal.
Absolutely. And that was where, like, and I'm going to expand on this first, identifying and celebrating the way in which you experience life, you study life, and then you're so abundantly open with sharing your experience. And I just want to let you know, Nina, that that is so deeply received. And the souls of this world seek to receive you in that way because there is such a golden nugget of wisdom that nobody else would have gathered through your own lived experience, through your vocal expression, and through the auditory frequency that comes out of you. So I just want to plug that in of even you expressing the way in which that you edited the book and co-edited that nobody else in this entire world would be able to share what you just shared. So
Thank
it's
you.
received. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And to go back into the curiosity of the vocal expression of reading the poems is the ones like, yes, you've read every poem to another vocally and to yourself. The ones that you've read in group settings, do you find that the lesson in that poem, the experience in that poem, or even the memory that lives within your body for that poem has alchemized or changed in a different way after reading it out loud to groups of people?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you what might become a long answer because there's a lot more into this that I want to share because one of the first 40 poems that I read out loud was at Salon in Kansas City, where some 75 to 100 women gathered in the Kansas City mansion by our salonier, Chelsea. It was magical. If you know, you know. And that weekend was so validating for me on so many levels. I read a poem there. I would forget what number it is, but it's my Alanis Morissette and Fiona Apple inspired poem, number 9 in my book. And it's about imposter syndrome. And I was nervous as shisa to read that poem. Like, it wasn't getting up there that made me nervous. It was like, I'm presenting myself to all these women who are beautiful writers, creatives, dancers, singers, etc. And like, I really want their support and validation, and I want to be seen as a poet by them. And like, I could barely hold my piece of paper. I was so like nervous, but I was still reading. Like, I didn't stop reading. I don't know how I did that. I even like, I remember there's a line in the poem that's like something about men wobbling in front of podiums. And I was like I'm wobbling right now. Like I even improvised, you know. I was very in the moment. But when I got to the end of the poem, it became this like woman power vibe. Like the last line is like, I can do it better, or something like that. And Chelsea was in the room when I was reading it, and everyone just like screamed and erupted. And Chelsea was like, "Yeah, you can." And I was like, "Yes." And I was so dang unsettled in my nervous system the whole time, my anxiety, etc. But I still did it. And it created this power that I didn't even know the poem had, that I didn't even know I had. And before I stop, I just want to say that weekend was unbelievably impactful on my life. You know, I talked with my therapist about the concept of self-esteem and how I feel like I'm a confident person, but I don't always have self-esteem. And like I always thought these two kind of go hand in hand. Self-esteem is very much built up by the people around you and the messages that are reinforced around you. And if you're around people who don't get your art or don't see the vision, they can subconsciously dampen that and take that power and that potential away from you, possibly without you even realizing that that influence has taken place. That weekend, the women, and I want to say you in particular, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on your podcast, I would say this to you in any setting. The way that you witnessed me in moments doing things that like I never, you know, you do things throughout your life and you hope people recognize the effort that gets put into it or something. You would just always be there like, Nina, I see what you did. That was amazing, saying something. And just thank you for that gift. It's immeasurable for me to have had, like, I'm getting teary thinking about it, to have had the opportunity at a point where I'm really trying to build towards this future version, to be the poet and the person that like I want to be, and to be surrounded by these women who like gave me my self-esteem back. Like I could not pay you women enough in terms of gratitude and support because it's truly priceless to be surrounded by a community that sees you for who you are, validates wherever you're at, like with no judgment. It was just magical. And you in particular were such a keystone part of that experience. So thank you.
Oh, Nina. And to paint on the canvas of the words that you just expressed, there is no trying to be or desiring or striving to be the soul and the woman and the poet that you're speaking of for the future self because you're already that. And even that weekend, it's so easy to see that. That's why we vocalize it to you. Because you're literally a living, breathing expression of that. And that's for you and that's for every soul out there, myself included, whenever I forget that I'm already her. Sometimes the sensations of the body and the waves of the mind seek to dampen that out of safety to belong.
Yep. Yep.
The undercurrent, the waters and the amniotic fluid that live within us, the waters of the spinal wisdom that live within us, all holds exactly what you just said. But the like clothing sometimes gets heavy
Right.
and we forget.
Uh,
And I feel like this is something that's really coming up right now is And you really said it. Like the 83-year-old version of us, we're choosing which rooms to be in. Therefore, the clothes are no longer heavy. We're wearing
Right.
90s every day, made of silk, And before that occurs, maybe we're meant to have the experiences of entering rooms and entering cars that feel heavy.
Right.
So we can be like, note to self, the spinal fluid's talking, and we're
Right.
not doing that
This
again.
ain't it.
And
No,
this
I
ain't
think it's like almost like dating when you put it that way, right? Like sometimes you're waiting for this, whoever your perfect person is, walking into all these spaces, trying out all these different people. This works, this doesn't work. From each one, you learn, "Well, that didn't work for me, or I really like this, or whatever." Sometimes you don't even know the rooms exist.
my God.
And that was what Kansas City gave to me. You know, all of us as humans want to be loved and feel belonging. And we probably belong to a lot of communities where we feel 50%, 60%, 75% in. Like we're mostly aligned, the differences don't matter. Prior to Kansas City, I had never spent that much time in a room with 100% alignment, 100%. I'm 100% here as 100% myself. And that, again, is so powerful. Like, I can stop searching. I found the room I belong in.
Totally in that room. In one moment in Kansas City, I perceived that room to be one room or one house. That's the house. That's the village. That's the only space on this planet. And then life unfolds, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like a door in like a village mansion. There's so many opportunities to enter spaces like this. And I would even go as far to say that the more the soul, stress, and human come together in ways that you're 100% and the heart is just so open in the front and in the back, something new forms, a portal, a vortex,
Hmm.
something, there's a shift in the fabric, literally, of humanity for the past, for the present, and for the
Yeah.
future. And may or may not be a concept that's able to be rooted. That's not a physical, it's not
Yeah.
a material, but
Right.
that does not mean that it's not
Not
as,
real. Yeah.
oh yeah,
There
for
will
sure.
always be a mansion in our minds.
And Nina, it was you and I on the way back of Kansas City going to the airport, and we're like, we forgot something.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Of
And it was
course we
us.
forgot something.
We left a piece of ourselves behind to create this new realm, the blanket that could stretch and cover and fill the space that exists between all of us. I mean, literally, very few of us live in the same city. So we've got, 50 whole states between us sometimes. So it's about like investing a part of yourself into this thing that is bigger and can live beyond you. There will always be a mansion in our minds.
There will always be a mention in our minds. And switching here and honoring the mention in the minds of when it comes to your book, baby, 40 poems, and having this dedication to all of the women over the 40 years, what's something that really surprised you and left you in awe of publishing and having people see what you birthed?
Um, well, one aspect of that would be my process of working with Edie Renee Connection, who works for the Poems and Power Publishing team, and now I consider to be a dear friend. Um, part of that piece of self-esteem and confidence, like writing is interesting, right? Like technically anyone can write. And then you start to get into the space of like, well, what makes a writer then? And what makes a poet? And what makes a poem good? And do you have to be published and have your awards and your public, journals that you've been featured in to be taken seriously as a poet? All I needed was Edie
Mm.
because I mean, she has her professional background in editing and writing. She has a master's in all of this. So she came to the table with this expertise. And like so much of the process, like even reading out loud, that was her idea. This was all her, which is just a testament to her own artistry and why she's so good at what she does. But that process of working with Edie and having someone who I didn't really know, like now we're good friends, but when we first started working together, we were strangers. Hope both happened to be from Pennsylvania, but strangers nonetheless. And she just gave me so much validation. Like, no, these are good words. Like, this is good. Like, just having a sort of neutral third party tell me that just gave me so much self-esteem and confidence. But then, one thing I'll say is also like the strengthening of bonds in my own life that it's created. Um, there's a couple poems in there that reference my mom. And she just received her copy this past week, had a chance to read through the whole thing. And there was such a catharsis and like a reckoning, if you will, in a positive way around our relationship and our dynamics and the insight that she had into me and thus that she gave me of her perspective of what we went through and what she felt she was doing as a parent. Our relationship has just gotten so much stronger because of the authenticity I was able to put out and her being able to receive it and meet me there. And that was like an unexpected result for me of how it would strengthen connections that I have with real people in my life. There's a poem in there about, my college roommate and being able on Mother's Day to share with her that I had written a poem for her I was going to be including in the book was like just such a special gift. Um, and such a like nice, bond strengthener for our relationship. So, yeah, I would say that would be one of the unexpected, you know, aspects that I'm really grateful for.
Mm. Is there a certain moment in your life or a story of lived experience that pops out for you in your younger years that shifted the way in which you're able to now be vulnerable? Vulnerable with yourself in the pen and the paper, vulnerable with others now after the 40 poems has been published.
Um, the first thing that's kind of coming to mind, I had in starting in 2024 a series, well, really it was like late 23, moving into 24, a series of women in my life who had been incredibly close to me, women who I thought would be close to me for my entire life, for various different reasons that I won't go into, basically like abandoned me. And that was an unbelievably difficult process for me. One of those, I will say, was over um, differences of opinion on the Israel-Palestine issue. And as a Jewish person, it's just something really sensitive to me that I have to navigate still to this day. Um, and that experience of having these two extremely influential women just ghost me was profoundly isolating, completely made me restructure the way I saw the world. I actually started seeing my therapist after that, which it's all in the book. Um, it was only by being in this incredibly dark, lonely space where I was questioning my value. Why do people even like me? What did I do wrong? All these negative perceptions that caused me to realize, A, I needed help. And then B, like the time that we put into looking at these issues and getting at the root of where they came from and why it triggered me and made me feel so awful and things like that. I honestly feel like I up leveled, that I had to go down to go up.
Mm.
That if I hadn't had this profound rewiring of my sense of self, that maybe none of this would have happened because it took me being at my lowest, most stripped, most vulnerable to then build into something now where I'm vulnerable because I want to be, because that's my way of relating to people. Like if I can share the thing that I went through, I always have said this. If my poems can help just one woman feel seen or make sense of something that she went through, I've achieved my goal. And so that's a long way of answering your question. But yeah, I would say that those experiences were profoundly impactful for me and really got me to a place where my vulnerability is a strength now.
And how often, like, how often do humans do everything in their power to prevent stripping so far down that you're in the grainy,
Totally.
slimy, dark,
Not
scary
fun,
muck?
not
It is,
easy. I
it's
get
the
avoiding it. I
scariest.
totally get it.
Yeah, it's the scariest.
It's hard, hard work.
And we don't know how long that lasts for either.
Right.
I feel like it's from lived experience, I feel like it may be as simple as perception. How does one perceive their environment? In the lowest of lows, are you tearing yourself down every single day, every single day, every single day? Or are you offering yourself the opportunity to feel what your pointer finger feels like against your thumb finger? Are you
Hmm.
able to feel what it's like in the body? And thank you, Nina, for sharing because I do feel like that's pivotal. And maybe not, maybe there's people out there who have been able to rise so far without ever feeling the depths of that which is almost unexplainable. And
Right.
the only way we can explain it is because other people have had similar sensations
Right.
of like,
Right.
like
Right. Right.
what? But I feel like that's what keeps us like somehow we're like, yo, I see you.
Yeah.
I feel that. And it's the vulnerability. How has how has the experience right now, and you touched upon it, of like your relationships currently have started to transform in the way of now being having your body of work, your body of creation live outside of you as your like twin flame book expression. How has some of your closest relations seen you different or are now experiencing you in a different way? Or are you finding it's the same?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like I've written poetry my whole life, but it's waxed and waned, and I've never gone around prior to 2025 calling myself a poet. Um, and so I'm home with my kids in addition to being a poet. I don't have a second job or anything else. And I stopped working when my oldest, who's now 10, was born. So it's been 10 years now that I've been home. And that was a really hard experience for me, stopping working. You know, I went to an Ivy League school. I'd been working since I was 16. So much of my identity and value were wrapped up around my career and what I produced and the feedback people gave me on the documents I wrote and things of that nature. And I didn't really realize it was like I chose to stay home. It was something I wanted to do. I didn't realize like that I would have to break up with capitalism
Huh.
when I stopped working, you know, we think about capitalism just as like a monetary financial system or whatever, but it actually like very much shapes our values. And I truly believe it's okay to just be a human here, resting, enjoying experiencing pleasure, that you don't need to be associated with output to have value. I do believe that now. However, I will also say I still exist in a society that doesn't agree with me all the time. And I've been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. Now I have friends seeing me create something bigger than myself, more than just my house and my family. And like it's really cool to see my friends be proud of me and see them see this other side of me. And so many of them loved me and valued me despite that. But there's just, this validation now of like I am so much more than just a stay-at-home mom. Like that my friends have reverberated for me, if you will. And it's cool just to see also like how it's inspired some of them. Like some of them are now like, oh, I want to get in an arts group, or I'm inspired to try writing my own poetry now. And that's just like so magical to kind of have that influence on someone where they can think about changes they want to make in their life because of something I did. Like that's pretty cool, pretty special.
Really, really special. And as you said, it doesn't have to have like an output. You know,
Yeah.
you didn't have to create anything. You could simply just be in a room and someone's like, oh my gosh, I'm inspired by the way you breathe. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Thanks.
Oh, Nina, I'm wondering if there is anything on your heart right now that you would like to contribute or any lingering feeling or thought that is moving through you right now.
I think, I guess just for anyone who's listening that's a poet or thinking about being a poet, like we need your art. Um, I think it's really easy in poetry to compare yourself to the greats or people who like I fall into this trap on Instagram. There's some poets who have like hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. They put up a poem and like the response is beautiful and instant. And I've had conversations with myself, with other poets, where it's just like, oh, I don't know if my writing is good enough, or I don't know if this is good enough to be submitted or to be published or whatever. As much as there are different people out there in the world, there are different ways of reading and receiving poetry, right? Like some people write really dense, super heady intellectual poems, and you read it and you're just like, wow, that's smart. Like that person. Wow. And those poems are great. But like I gotta be 100% focused. I gotta have no distractions around me. I gotta be in the zone to absorb what you're saying in that poem. Some people are scientists, and that type of stuff doesn't resonate at all. They need something more analytical. There is an audience for your words, whatever your words look like, however classically good or not they are. I like to think of myself as an efficient poet. I don't tend to write very long poems. I want my point to be very clear to my readers so that they know exactly what I'm talking about, so that they can see themselves in my words. Not every poet has the same goal. So put your art out there. There is an audience for you. I can't wait to read your words. I can't wait to share your words with the people who need to hear it. If you haven't um, purchased my book yet, Renee and I are going to offer you all a special discount code so you can purchase. If you're a forward movement podcast girly, we're going to have a special link for you to purchase my book at a discount because I love Renee and I love her community and everything that she's building. I'm so excited for her book baby to come. And I'm just so grateful. I'm just one grateful lady and so lucky and so fortunate to be friends with you.
Oh my gosh, mutual. Eight turns sideways, infinity. I love
Ouroboros.
you. I love you. I love you. Everyone, this has been the Forward Movement Podcast with the glorious Nina. And all the information is going to be down below. So scroll, scroll, and then click, click, and then receive, receive. Mm. Toodles
Thank
baboodles.
you.